Hey friends, welcome back to the Inside Look here at Fit Body Bootcamp and shooting an awesome episode today. I want to introduce my colleague, my dear friend who oversees our operations team, who has nearly 2 decades of experience in fitness franchising and franchising in general, has been a game changer in terms of adding so much value and support through his previous experience to make sure our franchise partners are launching with over 100 members, which is our guarantee. So without further ado, I want to welcome my man, Chris Barth, to the show. My man, Chris Barth, welcome to the show.
How are you, my friend?
All right. So excited to have you on this episode of The Inside Look. And I know I just gave you an intro, but my first question, just give our audience some backstory. One, just personal, and then we'll kind of guide you through the professional.
Yeah, so I grew up in Wisconsin, born and raised, and then moved between Wisconsin and Arizona for a couple times, over 20 years, and then moved out here to Southern California almost 2 years ago.
Dang.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that journey.
For sure.
That's a good segue just to your background, professional background as well. And you've been, I want to say in the franchising space at the time of this recording, nearly 20 years. So you know a few things about the space. And more recently, I guess in fall of 2021 is when you joined?
Yes, 2021 is when I started working for Fit Body. And prior to that, I found out about Fit Body through Bedros.
Okay.
And I went through the project in November of 21. The project is that 75-hour men's self-development program.
Yep.
And he and I got to talking, got to become friends. And when I was looking to transition, I talked to him about working for him, selling the project. And then as we were talking about my background, he said, I want you to talk to Bryce with Fit Body and see what that would look like. And as we talked, we found out that my operational background would be a big help as well.
Oh, yeah.
Along with sales. And so you and I have been running together now since September of 21. I actually moved here in March of 22, out here to Southern California. And I've been in HQ ever since.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that, your roles, your responsibilities, how you help our franchise partners and whatnot. Before I do, though, why don't we back that story up? Because I know I just teed you up. You have nearly 2 decades of franchising experience. So before you found the project, found Fit Body, and we started running together, what does that franchising background look like?
Yeah, so I started with Massage Envy, and I was with them for, 13 plus years, and I started off as just a manager of a location and kept growing within the organization, and I ended up at the home office there, which was in Arizona, and I left as the regional director of operations for the Northeast, and I would literally go out to locations 3 weeks a month. I oversaw 326 locations.
Ooh.
And we talked about everything from how is the health of your business financially to how's the team, how's this, how's hiring, how's support, all those type of things. And it was great. Loved it. I then transitioned into owning my own fitness franchise and did that for about 4 years and really enjoyed that. But that was also when I had connected with Bedros and the project. And funny enough, when COVID happened, because I owned my fitness franchise at that point, they didn't have a plan. I followed Fit Body.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy? And I actually got a call from the CEO of that franchise, and they're like, what are you doing? You're being successful during this time. Oh, I'm following Bedros and Fit Body, because you had a plan, and we didn't. And that's what helped me stay up. And there were 7 locations around me that closed.
Dang.
Because they had didn't know what to do. And I did follow the plan, and it worked. And so then as I talked with Bedros more, I left my fitness franchise, and that's when I hooked up with him to sell the project. Came to Fit Body, and now I'm 2 years with Fit Body.
Heck yeah, man. And we'll talk about this, but like this guy has been a game changer in our organization. I don't just say that. Our operations team, and he oversees onboarding and operations, just has cleaned up exponentially. And our owners are by far the most successful they've ever been, coming out of the gate strong. And that's a large part, to this guy standing with me today. So
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. Before we dive into that, though, I don't want to just just a general highlight. I want to dig in just a little bit about Massage Envy, because that's an incredible experience. So just high level from your perspective, what was the most rewarding part about that experience? And the flip side, what was the most challenging part of that experience? And the reason I asked this, it's probably no secret that experience has definitely translated so much in terms of our onboarding and operations, which has been really helpful. So we'd just love to get your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So interestingly enough, I started off as a massage therapist. So I had done that before I even got to Massage Envy. I grew up in the hotel industry and did a lot of that. And then I became what's called an esthetician, so I could do facials, and then I was doing massage and stuff like that. So I knew what it was like to be in one of those rooms for 8 to 10 hours a day.
Like practitioner.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah.
I got the essence of what that was. And a lot of the owners had no idea. They were entrepreneurs. They weren't therapists. There were very few. So the hardest part was getting a franchise partner to understand what actually happens to the rank and file that's working, which is kind of what we do here as well sometimes.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to get them to understand and get both people on the same page. And I was able to work around that and figure out creative ways to make it happen, which was great and rewarding. But that was the hardest part, is to get them to understand what it takes to stand in a room and give a physical service for 8 to 10 hours a day.
And you had that institutional knowledge coming from the
And I had
practitioner
the knowledge of doing it, yeah.
Which, interesting, I mean, then that your knowledge evolved and expanded, and then again, we've factory installed that knowledge that you've brought to our team, which has been incredible.
Right, and so understanding the operations of it and how sales plays into it, and how do we do P&Ls, profit and loss statements, and how do we understand not only the physical and the literal working of the business, but what's the mental and emotional aspect that we see for owners and franchise partners. That is translated perfectly into this. And then being a franchise partner in a different group, now I understand what it is. So I can say, just like you can, I've sat in your shoes. I've been an owner. I know what it is. You're still an owner. So a lot of times I give anecdotal remarks to our franchise partners here at FitBody saying, when I did this, this is the result I got. I've been in your shoes. I get it. So it gives me automatic credentials to say, oh, okay, you're not just somebody that's behind a phone or behind a screen. You actually have been in my shoes.
Totally. Been in the trenches for...
Been in the trenches, yeah.
Which is huge. And I think that's why you've been, one of many reasons why you've been super successful. It's not like you have an operational, blueprint and you're just coaching off what the script is. Right. Yeah, we have scripts and you've created a lot of those as well, but you're also able to dynamically coach our new franchise partners, which has just been super helpful.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So now I want to be able to present, that background just so our audience, has a good understanding of new franchise partners coming through the ranks on who they're getting to work with, and also to the level of experience and professionalism that you bring. Let's talk about your role at FitBody. Like, what's your title? What do you do? What's your day-to-day? And I'll kind of unpack that.
So my title is Operations Director, and it's overseeing everything operationally, right? So I work with some of our VAs when we're doing the milestone reach-outs, setting people up with VAs, something like that. But then it's also day-to-day working with franchise partners in onboarding, in territory reports, and in sales. So I'm literally helping them through sales, teaching them and holding them accountable through their launch, is what we call it. When we start a new location to open, I'm walking them through that whole process. And so it's soup to nuts. Everything that happens from the minute you've purchased your franchise, myself and my team has you for the next 6 to 8 months. And we work tirelessly with that.
What's the cadence of communication look like when someone gets connected?
So right at the beginning, we do 3 calls back to back to back once a week. And the first one is the introductory call with myself and my partner in crime, Chris Barth. Great guy. He's a territory just monster. Really knows a lot of great stuff. He does a lot of the technical stuff in the background. And so he and I get on a call, and then the following week, I get on a call with them, and we talk about how do you break even? Like, literally, what do you need to do to cover your finances?
Like reverse engineering
We
success.
reverse engineer success.
Yeah.
And I can tell them, based on what their loan is and how much their build-up's going to be and what their rent is going to be, I can tell them, you need X amount of memberships to break even. And that's a game changer because we've never seen anything like that before. So that's our second call. And then I introduce them to another thing that we brought to the table, which is Fit Body in a Box.
So let's unpack that.
You want to unpack that one?
Please.
That one's pretty fun. So this is a program that I went through when I bought a fitness franchise. And they had a project manager, they had a contractor, and a architect that literally did everything for you. And I was like, this is brilliant, because I have no idea. I've never built a place. I don't know. How do I negotiate that stuff?
Yeah.
So one of the first things I said to you when I met with you and Brittany, our executive director, I said, do we have anything like this? And you guys looked at me like,
Nope.
Nope. I go, I'll be right back. So I found our partners that we have now who are incredible at what they do. And now over 95% of all of our new builds are being done through Fit Body in a Box. So we have project managers, we have an architect, we have brokers, and we have now a lease negotiator, because one of the hardest things to do is to find an attorney that's going to sit down and read your 150-page lease and get it done in a timely manner. We found a guy through one of our partnerships that will do that for us fast. So we continue to just evolve everything that's happening. And one of the other pieces that I do is I manage all the vendors that we have. And we've cycled through some vendors we've had for quite a long time. And we've just upgraded and continue to get better and found out areas that we needed help in through some of our other vendors. Like, hey, we work with these people. They do this. Great. Let's have a conversation. They come on board. So it just keeps evolving every minute. So that's just on the second call.
Okay.
Setting them up, letting them know, here's how much you're going to need, and we're going to take care of this for you, so you don't have to worry about this. You can focus on sales, marketing, and growing your brand. My team and I will take care of your build-out.
Which is what their focus needs to be 100% during the process.
100% of the time. They got to be focused on marketing and on sales.
Yeah.
And then myself, Chris, and the teams that we work with, we go through weekly figuring out where we are in the build-out process, how are things going, what do we need to do, are there any issues, stuff like that.
Yeah. And also something to point out as well is from the sales and marketing perspective, we also have that structure and support, but it's up to the franchise partner to take that.
Right.
And you have weekly accountability calls with them, do you not?
We do, yeah. And so then the third call, we do something about creating culture that we got from one of our mastermind groups last year. And so we just let our franchise partners know, hey, this is the kind of culture you want to have here.
Yep.
After that, it goes to bi-weekly calls as we're looking for locations. And then Chris manages that. And then once we get closer to lease, I come back in, we close it out, and then we start the launch process. And that's when we're on weekly accountability calls with our franchise partners, making sure that they are following the steps that we've created and the scripts we've created to get as many members in as possible, because we have a 100-member guarantee.
Yep. What is that?
So that is something that you and Max came up with. Thank you. That we have to do to where we're going to guarantee that our new franchise partners have 100 members when they start. Now, a thing that I always tell people, I want to make sure I have this right. You had like 3 people when you opened your first location, right?
No, I had, when we first started?
When you very first started.
Me as an owner.
You as an owner.
So 2012, it was a 2-man show, myself and Tatiana. So things have changed since then.
Right, but how many members did you have?
Oh, members.
Yeah.
Forgive me, I was hearing teammates. Oh, we had a dozen trials. No,
trials.
0 members.
No members.
Free trials too.
Free trials.
Yeah.
And you had to work
Yeah.
to get those.
Yeah, yes.
So what we're doing now, God bless you for that. Holy
Man,
smokes.
different time, different age. This guy,
Right.
our awesome, kick, throw and stuff. But our operations team and onboarding team, man, game changer.
So no more 10 DVDs we give to people. We don't do that anymore.
Right.
That's what you got when
That's
you
what I got.
started.
Yep.
And the story is, B said, here's the 10 DVDs. Figure it out. If you got a question, give me a call. But if I don't answer, I'm selling to somebody else.
That's it.
That's not us. I'm texting and calling and talking to people 7 days a week. So if somebody has an issue and they need to talk and they're freaking out, Barth, you got a minute?
Let's go.
Let's go. Because I know how important it is, right? But we still want to get them that 100 members. Now, again, it's up to the franchise partner. Are you going to work with the things that we're giving you? Like, here is the blueprint.
Yes.
Here is what you need to do, how you need to do it. Here are the scripts for videos, for selfie videos, to go on Facebook to get people to know, like, and trust you so that they'll become part of your group. And if you do it, I guarantee you're going to be successful. But if you don't, I guarantee it's not going to be a fun ride.
And it's just like when our franchise partner you're watching this opens their own location. At the end of the day, it's, of course, HQ's providing the support, but it's our franchise partner's job to run a strong program, create the structure, but their client still has to do the work too.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, is you as a franchise partner at a gym location, you have the best systems, the best process, the best culture in the world, but if your client can't get out of bed and get to location, they're not going to be successful.
Right.
And it's the same with us and our franchise
Exact
partner.
same thing. If you can't get out of bed or get out of your own way,
Yep.
trust the process. We got you. You joined us for a reason. If you wanted to go into business for yourself and open Bryce's House of Pain, then go. But if you want to be both somebody that's tried and true, that has the systems and processes in place, come to FitBody.
Totally.
What are you wasting your time for?
Love it. One thing you said about you getting their own way and maybe some not frustrations, but anxieties, if you will. What would you say are the common concerns that you hear? Because you're in very closely with a lot of franchise partners, long term, but specifically in their onboarding process.
Yeah.
So we'd love to be able to shine some light on that. One, just from as a good coaching education, and then two, because sometimes human nature, we think that we're the only person going through this. And I also wanted to unveil the kimono. And if you're listening to this or watching this and realizing that there's probably many other franchise partners who came through the process, been very successful, probably felt the same way. So would love to get your insights.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny because I actually had this conversation twice today. And by the way, I get in super early, like 5 to 5:30 a.m. And I'm here till usually 4 or 5 at night. And I'm on calls all day. Mm-hmm. And it's for a reason because we got people on the East Coast and then people on the West Coast, and it doesn't matter what time it is, somebody needs something. And I had this conversation a couple times today is, am I the atypical franchise partner, or am I just whining and complaining?
This franchise partner asked that to you.
They asked me that to me. And I'm like, no, you're fine. You're actually good because you're asking, I want to get better at coaching. I want to get better at being a leader and making decisions. Help me. If you just did stuff and then told me later, that might be an issue. So when you reach out and ask for help, I'm happy to help. Even when you don't, I'm still going to text you and say, do you need anything? Because I feel like you do, right? So the question that comes up the most is the what if. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And I say, well, what if the sun doesn't come up tomorrow? What if there's no more water? Then what do? I don't know. We figure it out. And so what I do is I say, don't think about what ifs. Think about so that.
Break that, unpack
I'm going to break that down.
Yeah.
Well, what if I don't get enough members? Well, if you don't get enough members, then you got to work harder at it so that you have a stronger location. You're doing this so that you get this outcome. Once you get that outcome, you're doing something else so that you get this. So that builds. What if destroys? Because you sit on your X, as our friend Jason Redmond would say, you don't move, you don't make a decision, and we have that a lot with some of our franchise partners. They get so twisted about what's to come, they're not worrying about the guidance that our team is giving them. Hey, we just need you to do this right now. Well, what about this? What about mastermind? What about owning multiple locations? Why don't we get you one location, and then we'll think about the empire. So we walk you through step by step. And when you believe in that, and even when you freak out, we'll talk in this manner, right? Because I get it. We are onboarders, part-time. We are full-time therapists. We are full-time coaches, just listening to people and then saying, okay, do you feel better? Now let's talk about what we need to do. So if you follow the plan, ask the questions. If you're nervous, ask.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, I mean, sometimes you as an owner doesn't necessarily want to go home to your partner and say, I'm really feeling a self-sabotage moment and I lack mindset. I don't think I can do this. They're not going to hear that.
Right.
What do you mean? You put all the money we have in the world into
You
this?
just convinced me to
Right.
do this, and now you're telling me this?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a bad conversation.
Yep.
I can have that because, one, I've been in your shoes, but two, I'm not immediately in your shoes because I can have a different perspective.
Totally.
My emotions taken out of it, yet I can talk to you on an emotional level. Does that make sense?
It's amazing. And, typically speaking, you need to make, just as a general business, you need to be making logical, factual-based decisions versus like knee-jerk emotional decisions. And Chris, that's the value that you bring to the table in terms of that support.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, we'll kind of circle back to see if there's any other roles and responsibilities, but I want to dig in, especially we're talking about the psyche of a franchise partner. And I want to kind of similar to what I asked the last question, it was a two-part question. The first question is like, what are the characteristics and qualities of the most successful franchise partners that come through your door? And then I want to show you the opposite, because let's face it, like not everyone's made equal and not everyone has the same work ethic. So there's also sometimes franchise partners that aren't achieving the success they need to or they should because of some qualities that I want to point out, so that way we can get in front of it and be able to educate. So can you give me that insight?
Yeah, definitely. But I want to prerequisite this thing and say that, even the ones that are like you, that have been in the trenches for a long time, who've done very well, you've had multiple locations, and now you're running still one, but now the entire company. You've had those moments where you've been like, I don't know if I can do this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, every day is a test.
I'm going to interject for a second. I don't know the number, but earlier today I shot an episode of the Fitness CEO podcast, and I gave some like benchmarks and some takeaways on things every new business entrepreneur needs to encounter. And I shared a very vulnerable story about a freak out moment that I had like 3 months after the location launched, and ended up connecting with Bedros and talked me off the ledge. But yeah, that's just an classic example that no one's immune to that.
No.
We all go through challenges, so it's important to kind of lean on support.
Yeah, definitely. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that, because if just what you're factory installed with doesn't mean that's what you're going to end up with.
Totally.
Right? So the ones that do really good have a can-do mindset. They understand they don't know what they don't know. If you're willing to say, you're the expert, I don't know these things, teach me, right? Like the old Star Wars thing. Teach me, Obi-Wan, you're the only one I trust. So, not that I'm Obi-Wan, but we can teach you how to do these things. And if you're open to coaching and open to learning, you will be amazing at what you do, because then you can say, okay, I've learned these lessons. Now, the best way to really make sure I know the lesson is to now teach the lesson. And then we can execute. And then I can go back and go, ooh, I don't know how to do that. Let me go back to the source. Come back to us. Come back to you. Come back to Barrett and Cap, or whoever they need to go to. Come back to Chris and myself. We'll show you what the answers are, or at least work through it with you so you find the answer. Then you can continue to do that. So those that come with that open-mindedness, the can-do attitude, and whatever it takes, I'll figure it out, the FIO, those are our most successful.
Awesome. I want to ask the flip now, which I know already kind of put on the radar.
Yeah.
But I also want you to incorporate the level of cadence of connectivity, because I know the owners that swim towards you and the franchise partners who are just dialed in and are able and humble enough to like ask for help and coachable, as we just talked about. Like you have a great way to be able to steer them towards success. The opposite is also true. Sometimes, which is mind blowing to me. I say this with love because I want every single, not only franchise partner, but teammate, but client that walks through our door in the entire organization to be massively successul. But sometimes it's mind boggling to me when I hear, get debriefed that like, hey, I'm trying to reach out to this franchise partner. I haven't heard back from him. It just, kind of frustrates me. So what does that look like for you?
It's the same, man. It's so frustrating because as a coach, right, and we're in the fitness industry, so we have trainers. As trainers' job is to take on the goal of their client.
Yep.
And so you take on the goals of everybody in this entire brand that they want to be successful. So you're like, I have to lead this brand. That's a heavy weight. But we do that with all of our franchise partners. Anybody that comes through here, I want their goal of owning multiple locations and helping thousands of people. That's what I want their goal to be.
Totally.
And when they're not doing it, it frustrates me. And I get just like, come on, we can do this. I want this for you just as much as you do.
Because it's the care and compassion that we
Right.
both have. Our entire organization has.
It's true. I mean, we're all a bunch of lighthouses here.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to be the tugboat where we're pulling them along like, you don't want to do this, but you're coming kicking and screaming because it's the right thing to do. You've trusted in us. Now you need to trust me to pull you through this. But there's been conversations where I'm like, look, and it's hard because you build these relationships over 6 to 8 months. I'm working with these guys for the initial piece. But then I'm talking to owners that have been in the brand as long as you.
Yeah.
And they're asking me questions, which is pretty cool and humbling at the same time. But if they don't want to listen and I go, let me ask you something. I had this conversation yesterday. What is it about what I'm suggesting to you that you don't like? Because it seems that anything I tell you to do You literally go the direct opposite. Why? Why is that? And it's hard to do because a lot of us will put the ego in front and say, why aren't you listening to me? I'm the expert. I'm not. I'm just trying to understand why you're not making that decision. And it comes to finding out that it's a trust factor for most people. They don't trust the process. But what they really don't trust is themselves to go through this thing. And you just said it in your story of 3 months after I opened, Pete had to talk me off the ledge.
Yep.
You didn't think you could do it.
Yep.
You got in your own way.
I just saw like, oh shit, like things
This isn't
going to
work.
Control. Yeah, everything, the planning, it just didn't seem like it was coming fast enough.
Right. And that everybody wants the success that you or a Joey Stewart with multiple locations or whomever it might be.
Yep.
They want that success level. What they don't realize is it took you 12 years to get there, or whatever the case is. We all want instant gratification, but the point of it is if we don't if we don't stay out of our own way, get out of our own mind, we can move mountains. And sometimes I have to have that hard conversation and say, look, you're doing it all wrong. I'm saying this from a caring heart.
Yeah, I love you. I want you to win.
But you're an idiot. What the truck are you doing right now, right?
Yeah.
It's just not working, and here's why. Here's why you're not working. And I've had tons of calls. A few of them, I have 2 calls weekly.
Yep.
That is a therapy session, and they end up in tears. And it's not because I'm yelling at them or belittling them or making them feel bad. I'm telling them the God's honest truth of what they're not doing.
Mm-hmm. Which is what you need and the value of what we provide.
Right. It's like, look, I'm going to coach you whether you like it or not. Some of the feedback I give you is going to be pretty straightforward and almost like, whoa, I can't believe you said that to me.
Punch to the gut.
It's a punch to the gut because it's a reality check.
But that's the same advice that our franchise partners, that you, when your clients, getting off track and saying they're committed, but not coming to boot camp or not following your coaching, you got to have the same conversation from a good coaching perspective.
Yeah,
so,
that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's coming from a caring heart.
Yep.
And so that is something that we see here that I didn't see in the other 2 franchises I worked with. Some in the first one, because we're doing massage and facials. That's a very personal thing.
Yeah.
You better be caring.
Yep.
But to the level we do it here, I've never seen it before.
Oh, that's awesome. Man.
And being able to have the freedom that you've given us to just create what we're doing, that's what's really making the difference. Is that when we can do these type of things to help them. So listen to us.
Heck yeah. So I led the witness a little bit, just the lack of connectivity. Are there any other qualities that you see that you just know that's going to be a challenge in order for that franchise partner to be successful? And I want to be able to provide this insight just so you can hear this, just to make sure that you can avoid these potential pitfalls and you can swim towards, Barth and our team here, because we want you to be successful. We know you will be successful if you latch on. So anything else you can think of?
Yeah, literally the hardest parts of it is going to be finding a location, because that's an emotional roller coaster. You know how it is. It's like, oh, I've got a place. Well, what do you mean you don't want me here?
Yeah, or the city's not going to approve you.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? You have no idea what I'm trying to do here for this community.
Oh, yeah.
You got to just shrug it off. Be like, whatever. Yeah. The other piece is sales. Most people don't like doing sales. And here's the thing I talk about with sales. And you taught me this, Max taught me this, Bedros taught me this, and just through my own knowledge, what we're doing is we're not selling memberships. We're selling confidence, and we're selling health and a way of life. So if you're just going to have a conversation with people, tell me your story. Let me tell you some of mine. Let me tell you my journey, right? Why did I start working out? Why did you start working out? And when you tell those stories, then people are going to understand what it is. So you're really not selling them. You're just connecting with them, saying, you're like me. Come with me. Come on this journey. Let's open up what the possibilities can be for your life and your family's life through FitBody. And that's how the best people sell. Not the old stuff. Like I sold for 24-Hour Fitness and LA Fitness and the big box gyms.
Yeah.
We didn't care.
Yeah. High pressure, like you sign the dotted line. That
Sign.
Was
what do you mean you're not signing? Do you want to be fat all your life?
Right.
Those are the things that they would tell us to say. And I'm like, that is not how you sell to somebody.
Yeah.
I never liked being a salesperson. But I found my voice, and that is having a conversation, to getting to know somebody, sharing something for yourself, and then you connect. And then it's not a sale. It's just you've created a partnership.
Yeah, Chris, and I think connection is the big
Connection.
the big tagline there.
Yeah.
And just transferring belief, transferring emotion. You talked about from a personal perspective, and if you can do that, and one of the three qualities that we look for are people who are passionate about fitness and passionate about people. And if you're passionate about people and passionate about fitness, that energy exchange, that conversation, that connection should come more natural. But it comes also to just intentionality, and this is our job to be able to like really instill that and really instill the importance of that on the onboarding perspective, because that will definitely set our franchise partners, you up for success long term.
Definitely. And there's going to be times that we're going to have those hard conversations and say, you're sitting on your X, you're not doing anything, we need you to go this way.
Yeah.
For the health of your business and for your health.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
All right, Barth, as we wind this down, I have a closing question.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, is there anything else that we missed in terms of your role and how you support our franchise partners that would be insightful? And if you don't, no worries, but I wanted to give you that platform before we transition to the last question.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. There is one piece, and it's the on-site experience that we do now. And that is, I oversee this, and I work with your team at Mission Viejo and your brother Barrett's team over at the Berkeley location in Michigan. And what we do is we have both new franchise partners and transfers, meaning they bought an existing, will come out and spend 4 days with us, right? So we do a welcome dinner, which is a lot of fun. We break bread. The coaches get to meet the franchise partners, and then you get to meet them, and they get to either talk to you or your brother about the whole fit body journey and all these things. And then they get to be in a location for 3 full days, seeing exactly what it is to be in the trenches. And then we do a debrief here. When they're here in Southern California, they come to HQ, we give them a tour, and we do a debrief. But now we also do it virtually for those folks out in Berkeley, Michigan. And it is game-changing because for a number of reasons. One, they get to sit with you guys and break bread. They get to learn from some of the best coaches in the entire brand, by far. But then also they get community. So now they're seeing other people from across the country who are doing the same things that they are. Because one of the biggest things that I see in all of franchising is when you own 1 or 2 in Texas, you don't know anybody in Montana or New York or Florida or California. Now you're coming to one of these experiences, and we're opening the doors for you to meet other people across the country who now are part of your little mini tribe. So you are always connected with these folks. In the last 5 classes we've done, I still talk with a lot of these folks. They are still on text chats with each other, and they talk almost every day.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is super cool because it's just building a community within a massive community. So that's one of my favorite parts of what we do too.
Well, my dude, this has been awesome. I got one final question.
Okay.
And it's for our new franchise partner who's coming through the ranks and excited. They just got, awarded territory. They're about to connect with you and they're about to get this going, right? So they're very excited, but also too human nature. They're scared. They're nervous. They're the what if, mentality. What do you say to that person to help them on their journey? Big picture, but also too as they, link arms with you.
Yeah, great question. So, and this is what I've learned in all of franchising, right? 3 different brands over almost 20 years. That's even crazy to say, isn't it?
That's wild.
So, franchising is like a big coloring book.
What do you mean by that?
So you get a coloring book and you got all the lines in there, right?
Yep.
Figure it out. What are you going to do? So you have your coloring book. You're supposed to stay inside the lines. You could paint it with really dark colors and bold colors. Or you could take your time and you can use paints or pencils or something and really do some really creative shading. And you can create within the framework of this coloring book, because not every picture is going to look the same. So you get bits and pieces from you and from some of the other successful people, or something that you've learned, something from us. And you create your own beautiful picture by coloring inside the lines. And so not only are you with a framework of a franchise, but you've also created your own piece of that franchise. And when you do it right, you can multiply it exponentially, because now you know the formula and you just plug and play. But if you go outside the lines, what does it look like? I mean, we all, as
Messy.
kids, it looked like a disaster.
Yeah.
It looked like a Picasso. Now, he made out well. But a franchise partner, you're not going to make out well if you try to be Picasso or Jackson Pollock or something like that, where they just splash paint. Trust the process. Make sure you paint inside the lines and ask questions. That is what's going to make you successful.
Boom, mic drop, my dude. All right, Barth. Well, as we wrap this episode of the Inside Look, before we shoot, man, I just want to freaking just give you some massive accolades and from a personal perspective, give you some acknowledgement. What you've brought to our organization, your vision, your ability to see around corners, your ability to work with our team and really love up and add so much value and structure to our brand. Specifically in the onboarding process, but it just, it ebbs throughout the culture, has been nothing short than amazing. It's no coincidence that our new franchise partners are opening with the most success they've ever had in the business. They feel most supported, and it's due to your hard work and, of course, the hard work of our team as well. So I want to acknowledge you for that, and then more importantly, I just want to acknowledge you for the dude that you are. You are just the salt of the earth, awesome dude to the core, and I love and respect you, and I just want to appreciate you not only for being on the show today, but for who you are as a guy and to our organization.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Love you back.
Oh yeah, man. All right, friends. Well, I hope you got a ton of value from this episode, and as my tagline in the FCEO podcast says, no one is coming to save you. You must save yourself, and the time is now. My man Barth, thanks for being on the show, and we'll see you in the next episode.